suicide. The next day, he was dead. That's not speculation. That's a direct quote from his April 19th podcast, his final recording. He called his life a gift and a blessing. He said it was scary how many researchers were dying. And within 24 hours, Boulder County Sheriff was on a mountain road in Colorado. In 2018, David Wilcock told the public that he'd received death threats warning him that if he kept hosting Cosmic Disclosure, his show on YouTube, he would be killed. He wrote that sentence in a public apology letter to Gaia Inc. It's still posted on his own website. He said the threats came from, quote, a coordinated operation from a force outside of Gaia or its employee base 7 years ago. So on April 20th, he was found dead outside Nederland, Colorado. Here's everything he warned us about that nobody listened to. Rogue. That was heavy.
Dude, when I woke up and I saw that post, I swear, I was like, are you even kidding me right now? And like, that's just like the tip of this, right? Because when we chatted this morning, this was a very last minute kind of live, by the way, you guys. We talked this morning and we're like, you know what, we just keep chatting. We're just going to go live and do it. And we'll both probably create some just standard videos regarding this same topic after this live within the next few days or so. But yeah, to me, this just was screaming important and that we needed to be looking at it, and how we choose to look at it and analyze it, I think depends on each individual person, because we're all going to see it from, a different perspective. But to me, I feel like what happens, and I had said this to you, I think what tends to happen a lot of times in these cases, we're actually seeing it a lot with the Charlie Kirk case right now, where a lot of people now, post 6 months of the event, are going back to the beginning of when this took place and really digging into that stuff again. And so I wanted to jump on it really quickly anyway, just because I feel like right now is when a lot of us should be paying attention to everything that's going on right now, everything that was just going on with these people that we're going to talk about, maybe the things they were discussing, if there's anything people knew of going on in their lives at this moment in time or just prior to that could have been a contributing factor to whatever is actually happening. Because again, just to clarify, we don't actually know right now with definitive proof of what has taken place. We don't actually know. So I want to make sure people know that because a lot of stuff is going around right now. I'm sure you've seen too, that it sounds definitive, but we can clarify that has not been definitively proven, at least from what I can find as of now, that he's gone.
Since he's passed away, it has been showing that there has been people in his inner circle as well that have recently passed away. And we are going to dig in that today too, because there's been 4 deaths in 100 days surrounding the people in the Wilcox sphere. So not only is David Wilcock now dead, but there's also 3 other people that he personally knew that were dead. He talks about this in his YouTube video that we are going to review, his last YouTube video before his death. He talks about how these researchers are dying, researchers we have already covered, and some people he previously knew and have worked with on his personal show. Those researchers are not alive and not with us anymore. So this is a bigger thread. We've already talked about this on
the first one that the one that I noticed in particular was actually in the comments section of the post that I saw, the initial post that I saw on X about this situation. Someone had also stated that 6 days prior, on the 14th, an author named Winfrey, so Wynn Free, who, from everything I can find, had a very small following, if you even want to call it that. I would say equivalent to someone who kind of doesn't use social media, but sometimes posts stuff, like very, very little footprint. But that individual who co-authored a book with David Wilcox, that individual supposedly also, I have yet to be able to find out specifics or how or why, supposedly died April 14th. Again, this is someone who worked very closely with him for a period of time. I don't know how recently, how connected they were recently, but this is why, like I was saying, I think it's important that we start talking about it now, because whether or not the information is being disseminated to create some sort of distraction or what the case may be, we need to be paying attention to everything going on right from the get-go and what might have been going on right prior, because those are the things we kind of skim over. We get hooked up in the drama of all these situations, and we don't pay attention to a lot of the stuff that is imperative that we pay attention to. So I do think that it's really important.
So yeah, and in this video, we're going to go over his last video, his last live. We're also going to go over what Wilcox said before he died. We're going to talk about what Anna Paulina Luna said the very next day. I have receipts on that. We're also going to cover the timeline of the 100 days that have passed and the 4 names that are related to David Wilcock. And finally, kind of his own warnings on paper about what's going on currently, about his personal death threats. And we're also going to talk a little bit more in depth. I have a little bit of information on Winfrey. He was a physics major turned journalist. There's 2 other people, Nick Pope and Eric von Daniken. All 3 of these people are dead and associated with David Wilcock. So we're going to talk about all of them. And then I also finally have a watch list of people who are still with us that we should keep tabs on, because if they are no longer with us moving forward, we need to come back, cite this, and I'm going to give some names and see if these people come up missing or dead, like we've seen for other people. Because now at this point, I have seen that we have at least 14 dead scientists related to UFO, UAP, weapons tech. Some are in China, some are here, and now the David Wilcock saga. So that's what we're getting into today. So, Rogue, I'm going to have you play the clips of David Wilcock himself the day before he dies.
Yes.
And so was 24 hours before saying, like, I don't know that these aliens are, from my understanding, going to be a bad thing. But so what he was saying wasn't even necessarily bucking against the establishment, which makes this death even more suspicious.
Yeah. It makes me definitely question a bit more of where it could be coming from, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it does not seem like it's coming from what they're indicating, but we'll see. But okay, we can go ahead and play this clip here. Just let me know if you can't hear it for any reason.
Anyway, to start out with some business, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that, because frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up, even though it was last minute and I've had a really rough week. Like, that's kind of like every week, but somehow we keep on making it through all of this.
So yeah, and I don't necessarily know, unless he goes into it more, and I just didn't get there yet. But, obviously he's referring to having a rough week. We obviously know that someone he knew and worked with for a period of time supposedly passed away. So if that's in reference to that, and like I said, he only his live streams, it looks like, were maybe like twice a month or something like that. So I don't know if he has like an Instagram or an X account that he does other updates on, because people clearly were they understood what he was referring. He was speaking to them. It's a live stream that we're showing these clips from. He's speaking to them as if they already knew what he's referring to. So I assume he's discussed it somewhere at some point that he's, I did read, I think, somewhere as well, that I think he's recently been going through a divorce. I don't know if that's true or not. But that's something to take into account as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, before they pass away, they do say weird things like this. And that's something I noted too, where it was like, he's saying he wants to be here on Earth, and so I don't know if he had any indication because the research was missing, which is what he exactly referenced, or what it was. But I do think it's important that we note that he was aware of all of these scientists that were missing. And then he is also in this sphere. So it's not, in my opinion, a coincidence that he mentioned that in this last video. It's almost like when someone leaves a note before they go missing on their computer and they're like, hey, I knew this person, right? Like you've heard of that in the past where it's like this guy is basically saying on live stream to 500,000 people that go to his channel and beyond that he wants to be here on Earth. So then for him to go missing the exact next day, that is so suspicious because he is throwing out to the universe like I wouldn't stop being here. I'm
Yeah.
happy to
I
be
mean,
here.
yes, there's a difference between going through a hard time and, you know, clearly showing signs of like depression and concerning signs behaviorally. He's obviously not just throwing out a, by the way, guys, I'm not suicidal, like we see people do all the time, like that kind of blanket statement when they're saying something a little off, you know, out of the box or whatever. He's in depth talking about what a blessing life is. He also states that at another point, I don't think it was in that part there. Maybe I missed it, but because I was doing other things, but he does at some point also reference the fact that going about that, you know, way of removing yourself from this plane is just not natural. So it's almost sounds more so as like um a life belief of his, you know, like it's not an option because it's not a natural path out of this world and he just doesn't believe in that. To take that kind of context that he's saying and, you know, try to manipulate it into we're just not seeing the signs of depression and like that obviously we don't know, stuff happens. I recognize that some people can come off as very happy and whatnot, but for the most part what he's saying to me from my perspective is someone who's greatly reflected on what we're doing here, what our purpose is. You know, he probably already has his beliefs in what happens after we die, and because of those things a lot of times people who've kind of gone through that period in life where you reflect on that, it takes away this kind of fear of it, but it also takes away the fear of like making sure you don't mess up this life, you know, because you're already at a point where you're like, we're here for a period of time to do what we're doing, you know, like there's certain, you get to this point in life. It seems like he was clearly there, right? Like it doesn't seem like he's someone who, you know, doesn't have a good head on his shoulders, has his own beliefs. And I just don't get that vibe. I don't get the vibe of we're missing something here. It feels way too thought out and way too genuine for it to be something to just blow off, you know, as it's nothing.
I completely agree. And in the next clip you're going to play, he talks about if anything ever happened to him, kind of saying like, God forbid if anything ever happened to me, but I want people to do this. So it's talking about passing the baton to others as well. So
I actually had one more that I did want to show before that. So I'm going to pull it up because
oh yeah, go ahead.
I had noted this one earlier. I just want to reference as well. I wanted to reference some of the things that he is discussing because I think that some of these things that he's talking about are extremely important. And these are things that I think we should notate for just the fact of the matter is he's been openly talking about these particular people or these particular things. So I do want to play that quickly, and then I will play that next one after that. My voice is like still cracking, so I feel like I sound... Are you able to see my screen share though? I had done it's like different looked before. Can you
add it again?
Okay, cool.
There we go.
I just didn't know if it was working right. All right. I'll play it. It's here, ready to go.
Okay, so yeah, we don't mind about Taco Tuesday. And once again, we're up to one of those because there's a delegation that was supposed to be flying out. Breaking news, Iran has rejected the talks. They're saying, we don't want you guys to come out. It could be because you got Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner still in there. I don't know. They had already said they didn't want those guys coming back, but they're going to try to get them in anyway. So hopefully we can still get this thing back on the tracks. Maybe those two guys won't be involved. I don't know. We got to stay tuned, keep our eyes on the wheel, figure out what the hell is going on here. Because this is wild stuff, man. It is just like touch and go, crazy day to day. Every day is just like so intense. The drama is so high, so intense.
So that was that clip. I just found it important because obviously this stuff is highly important right now with everything going on. And so just I feel like anybody who's taking the risk of discussing these things, especially putting out names like Kushner and whatever, like I feel like you're putting yourself out there in a way that, a lot of people may not be comfortable doing. And he's obviously touching on important things as well. Whether that has anything to do with anything, I don't know. I just know that he's obviously, paying close attention to everything that's happening right now and the people involved. So
Yeah, I think that's good to note too, but like you had said earlier, it's not like he's necessarily pushing back against the regime or against the empire.
No,
He
no,
seemed to
just
be rather supportive and
notating.
wanting to be peaceful and part of a way forward, like a path forward where
Yeah.
if the ancient aliens or the aliens disclosure is coming forward, and let's say we learn more about aliens, maybe they come to the like a press conference, like we don't know how this is supposed to go down,
Right,
right?
right.
But he's trying to talk about what is the best way to move forward, and he doesn't seem to be like Trump's the worst, these people suck. He seems to be a very positive, happy person, and so for
Mhm.
for anything
Yeah,
to happen
exactly.
to him,
I
yeah,
feel like if you watch even just a handful of minutes of this live stream, you can tell that he's someone who has good intentions, has a good heart. He wants the best for everyone. He's holding out hope.
yep,
He's not someone who's doom and gloom. It doesn't seem that way. You know what I mean? He seems like someone who's recognizing the importance of everything going on, but not catastrophizing it. Like, I don't know. I don't get those vibes. It doesn't seem that way to me.
no.
But we can go ahead and pull up this next clip as well.
Positive. This is so important. I really wish there were other influencers out there doing global meditations, but right now it seems like I'm the only one. And so we gotta keep on track, you guys. I need other people out there doing this for me because I don't want to be a single point failure. If anything ever happened to me, God forbid, we don't want that to happen. But I want other people to be doing this as well, not just me. But yes, I felt a lot better yesterday, and
So I think
Short
that
and
clip
sweet,
kind of,
but
yeah, it basically is like he's asking people to take on the mission that he's a part of. And he
Mhm.
said he does global meditation. So it does seem like he's part of some peaceful group. He has 500,000
Right.
followers of people. It's going to
Yes.
be very interesting to see what they say about his death and if there were other clues, because we're just now looking into this and this is going to be a pretty big thread.
Yeah.
But what
And I
they
had
have to
mentioned that to you
say,
earlier too.
yeah, what
The
they have
the
to
fact
say
that he has a
moving
large following.
yeah, what they have to say moving forward, his followers, when they come through, is something to really pay attention to, because they might come out and say, oh, he said this, this, and this will happen regarding the alien disclosure or regarding himself or his friends in the scientific community. All of those things are points that we need to absolutely stay aware of. And as a collective, I know a lot of people like to research this stuff on your own. So keep those things in mind as you are researching and as you're looking into this case, because he has
Yeah.
500,000 just followers, and
That's just
not including
again,
his
yeah, I don't know
his
about
network.
anything else either.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know about
he has a
Instagram
very large
X or
network.
yeah. Yeah. And like I had said to you earlier as well, one of the stark differences I think between this and the McCaslin situation is that McCaslin didn't have this kind of social presence that David clearly has. And so it will be intriguing. I feel like this has already been something I've seen numerous posts on. I mentioned to you when I did a quick search for more information after I saw the initial post that I saw. I was able to find all kinds of articles already talking about this. Whereas with McCaslin, when I found out about that, which was already post like 10 days out, I could hardly find anything from any like reputable websites, news articles, anything. And so the fact that we're already seeing it here, obviously we already know he has a large following. And so it does make me question how this is going to progress in comparison, because this man obviously has an influence. He's got a large following, but he also, while he has a lot of information, and I don't know nearly as much as I hope to find out over time here, obviously McCaslin has a lot of important knowledge that he's gained over the years, right? So the difference would be, it seems that McCaslin may be someone who could potentially be slightly more important to, nefarious individuals if they're looking to gather information. So what does that mean in regards to this? But I also want to keep in mind that we have not really gotten confirmation of any of this yet. From anything that I was able to find when I did look this up immediately following, I was only able to find that what happened was that the police dispatch got a call that there was from the individual that they were having a mental break, and that when they arrived on scene, that the individual had a gun and took themselves out minutes within their arrival. The issue I had is from the article I found that stated that, which was the only one I found so far that gave any information as to what actually happened in the moment, it specifically stated that people have been making the assumption that it was David Wilcox based on the area in which the event took place. I don't know what that means. I don't know where he lives. I don't know how many people know where he lives. I don't know how dense of a population it is where he lives. So for me, I went, this is weird, kind of weird, right? Like, where are we getting the confirmation? And we have lots of mainstream people now posting about it, making like Anna Paulina Luna, like you had stated, she had made a reference. So I would love to get some more information around the specifics that we have confirmation that this was him, because as of right now, plus also in regards to Winfrey, who's the author who co-wrote, it was the Edgar Casey book or something, I believe I'd have to double check on the name of it or whatever, but he wrote it with him. That individual, I have tried to find information. I've tried to look up that person's name. From everything I can see, he lived in Arizona. I tried to look up his name with Arizona and April 14th to find any type of documentation or something documented as to police arrived on scene at this, whatever, anything that gave like that kind of breakdown that we got in that article I was just referencing in regards to Wilcox. I was trying to find anything that would reference something happening with this man, and I can find literally nothing. The only things that come up are articles that have been posted in regards to David within the last 12 hours, and they reference Winfrey. That's the only reference I can find of him away April 14th of 2026, which I find weird. I get he didn't have a big following, but even that, if you're looking up with like for local information and you're looking up someone's name, you would think you would find anything at all that would reference an event having taken place. I can't find it. So if anybody
Yeah.
has, by all means,
Maybe it's too early as well. Like we are breaking
it
this.
just
This is
makes me
new.
question.
Yes,
Well, and
and
that's the thing, but for him, it's been, what? I don't know how many days. We said the 14th, so it's been over a week,
yeah, it's been
like,
over a week.
for him, I can see it being a little soon.
And
You'd
maybe
think
the
there'd be
family
something.
wants privacy and things like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
what's also not been officially confirmed, like you were talking about with this case, is there's been rumors, multiple outlets stating their FBI has custody of the case. So they've reported that FBI now has a case, but the Boulder County Sheriff has not publicly confirmed that, and FBI has not publicly confirmed that. And it would be unusual because a mental health crisis on a self-inflicted death is what they're claiming, is not typically FBI jurisdiction unless there's evidence of
Yeah.
something else, like a federal crime, interstate activity, national security element, or
And yes,
public
he's a
pressure.
public figure, but he's not that much of a public, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like,
If you
we're
think
not
about the
talking about
Charlie
even
Kirk
like
case,
Charlie Kirk, right?
if you think about the Charlie Kirk case and where they're making the FBI draw a line between, or the FBI is making the state draw a line between them two, which is one of the reasons why defense can't get the evidence they need. The FBI is clearly laying groundwork for what they do and do not take on. So if this case is taken on by the FBI, but the Charlie Kirk case is not taken on by the FBI, we're going to have some serious problems on our hands, because Charlie Kirk's case qualifies much more because it was
Yes.
national. You could even say that was national security because
Yes.
of how he was ranked. So that could mean other people in the political sphere of Charlie Kirk could be under pressure or fire if they were to properly look into that. But with him, with Wilcock words, he obviously had a huge following. He had 500,000 followers. Charlie Kirk had millions. So
Yeah.
if the FBI takes this case on, that will also be suspicious. given what
Yeah.
we've seen with Charlie.
I agree. I think that these kinds of situations are definitely allowing us this sort of like backdoor view into um, the manipulation. We all know that they manufacture all of this often anyway, but it's allowing us this kind of like bird's eye view in a way of how they choose certain things to push so that it drives certain things. And I think that's where I try to look at things at this point is okay, if they're presenting, if they want us to be talking about this one because they're pushing it out there a lot faster and a lot more, readily than even, the McCaslin thing, it makes me question why, and now I'm looking at it from a different point of view. Why are you wanting us to talk about this one, but didn't want us to talk about this one? And what does that mean? And, I think it's allowing us to get a better grip on what their motives are behind the manipulation is very hard to pinpoint, when you're talking about why someone's doing something, you're talking about trying to get into their brain and to get into the overall, psyche that they want to push on everyone. So it's interesting to try to now to have these little bits of information that kind of allow us to get a little bit better at trying to break that down and pick it apart, because
I
I think that is
agree.
what this is doing. You know, it's making us all question why, you know, why are we talking about this one so quickly and so readily? And why do you want us to? And why don't you want us to talk about this one? And why are you taking on this case, but you're not taking on that case? And, I hope that more people start paying, people better than me start paying attention so that they, people who have a better ability to summarize and piece things together maybe can come up with some better theories around it. I don't know, but
Yeah, and the next clip we're going to talk about, he actually starts to talk about the vanishing scientists that we've been covering, and he names that they're missing Air Force scientists, which is what all of these people revolve around. And so I feel like that's dropping into he was part of maybe that group of people, even if it was a little bit more on the outskirts, like how you have connections, because he
right.
was on ancient aliens, UFO stuff. A lot of these people are
Yeah,
related
there's
to
clear overlap. Yeah.
there's clear overlap. So the reason these videos that we're showing is so important is he was stressing he knew people were missing, he knew people were dying, he knew people were in danger. He literally said, God forbid I'm still around. That is language of someone, at least in they have a high level of self-awareness, but also maybe more of a paranoid state of mind. My other question is, if they got a call to come to his house, who called them, right?
I think the indication is that he did. Like the individual was like, I'm having a mental break. That's what it sounded like when I read it, what I read.
So when we're watching this case, we're going to want to make sure if we can get that police recording of him actually making the call, instead of it being a Fed slops narrative, that instead of it being he took himself out, that maybe there was an order to take him out, because this is all.
Or if any of that happened, we look at Tyler Robinson and there's no record of any of the stuff they claim he said or did because they don't have it. Right.
Right.
So,
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Maybe there's none of this even happened.
Yes, and now that we know what we know, we need straight evidence that there was a call made, that that the cameras on the cop was on his body, the body cam footage of him. I'm not saying we need to see it. I'm just saying it needs to exist, and they need to have that in trial if it ever goes to a trial. If a family member raises a problem, where's the evidence that he took himself out? That's what needs to happen.
Short of them just telling us.
Yes, exactly. So remember, when you're thinking about these cases, public speculation and public voice raises pressure against the establishment. So if you find, as this starts coming out, that things do not look right, raise your voice about it on X, tag people, tag whoever's taking the case over, especially if the FBI does, and apply pressure, because we do not want these people to get away with constantly telling us that we should listen to what they have to say without getting the evidence that we deserve, his family deserves, the public. He's a public figure. So
we are
you know,
constantly made to feel like we are being inappropriate in asking questions. But the reality is the people involved in these situations are citizens just like you and me. They're people who were speaking out about certain things, just like maybe I will. Maybe one day I'll be talking about something that somebody doesn't like. How do I know right now? You know what I mean? Like, these are real people. These are people like you and me who've lived their lives. This is the direction they went in, and this is how they end up. So the reality is we need to be able to get confirmation and clarification around this stuff, because we could be these people too down the road. You don't know where the life is going to take you, right? We don't know.
yep.
All right, I'll go ahead and play this. Let's see. We'll just start here.
Wild. Same day, the bizarre image of Christ appears. And then again, they're asking, is he the Antichrist? Well, maybe it's more about healing that element that's in America, hence the Statue of Liberty components to the so-called winged demon. That seems to be more likely now. I think we're starting to unpack this and figure it out. And again, he took a big hit for this, but it's like a kayfabe, you know, appearing to appease the negative, appearing to put the demon in there, when really you're fighting against this stuff. I don't know. So this was another one that made it look like maybe he's in the pocket with them. The chief counsel issued a special resolution thanking him for the fighting. They're not thanking him now, man, not after what just happened. And then again, we're talking about the confirming that the Cuba will happen after Iran. This was really strange too. They're putting up barbed wire around their embassy, maybe because he was saying, you know, you guys can't supply anything to them. If you do supply weapons, there's 50% tariff. That would be pretty insane. So, you know, and all this other stuff. So they're actually worried that they might have some kind of attack or something going on. That's actually very interesting and disturbing. Then yet another individual connected to top secret U.S. UFO and nuclear-oriented research vanishing without a trace. It's up to 11 now, apparently. And then this was another really weird one. Got to be very circumspect about this. Allen revealing he was a key voice proposing they should blockade the strait to counter the other blockade. That's weird. You can speculate about what that means. But then look at the bias based on the picture here. They can clearly see the bias. April 15th, cover up being accused. The Pentagon is being accused of covering up this information after missing the UFO deadline. Well, they probably just need to bring it out at the right time. That's what I honestly think.
So I feel like from that clip, it actually is a great clip. It kind of went over everything he was covering, which was you think he would be just covering UFO related stuff, but he was talking about geopolitical events.
Yep.
Then he was also obviously connecting the UFO scientists going missing, which he had mentioned previously. So this was just a good overview showing everyone what he was actually about, what he was actually doing. And it's very clear that he was not talking bad about the establishment. Didn't seem like he was, you know, he had good faith in that. He was like, oh, they probably just need time about the UFO stuff. He wasn't like us where we're like, what time do you need? There's literally 14 of them missing now, and like some dated back to 2024. He's very good nature, very goodwill. Doesn't seem like somebody who's calling the cops in Colorado to take himself off the board.
And doesn't seem like someone who's like one extreme end or the other, right? Like he seems like just someone like what we're trying to achieve with our channels, like being this kind of middle ground, take away the left versus right. Like I watch him and I would genuinely, like, I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but like I couldn't determine if he would deem himself left or right. It seems like he's just taking everything at face value and analyzing it as it comes, which is what we should all be doing. So for me, I'm looking at him like, just seems like someone who's got a good grip on stuff. He's not, you know, adhering to the rhetoric of the side he claims to be. He seems like he's just, you know, analyzing it with a level head. That's what I gather from what I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. And something I wanted to touch on is kind of what he said before he died. We talked about this a couple times, but the 48 hours before Wilcox's death are the tightest piece of his record. he had 3 public statements in 3 days, which are now kind of being dissected within his community. So on April 18th, he had an X post, which was 2 days before his death. He said, "My dear family, I am not yet sure if I'm doing a show tomorrow. I've had some very intense stuff going on this weekend. Either way, I want you all to know how much I love and appreciate you. Always remember that the creator is within and we live in a loving universe." So that is flagging that he does have stuff going on. Now, that's something for us to keep in mind if any family member or anyone close to him comes forward and states what it is, whether it was threats, whether it was mental health, what kind of stuff did he have going on? He just said he just said
he does reference too earlier in the beginning of that live stream, he does reference weight loss, saying that he's lost weight. And at first I thought it sounded like he was talking about it in the sense of like maybe being healthier. Like he was saying how, like he could see some of like the veins in his arms and stuff. But then he also stated in another section that he could easily put on some weight, that he needed to put on some weight. He was getting too thin. So that could, take that however you will. It could be health, like literal health related things. It could be mental health related things. Who knows? It could just be, maybe he was trying to get on top of his health, but went a little too far, take it as you will. I wanted to reference too, I've seen a few mentions in the chat about the 333 everywhere. I do want to say, I think that he probably intentionally does that with his content. If you go through his live streams, most of them are like 3 hours, 33 minutes, and so however many seconds. So I imagine he's intentionally timing them. I know 33 is like this big, like Mason, whatever thing. I only know so much about that. But what I can say in like the spiritual world of people, 333 is like a spiritual number that a lot of people will they reference it as a positive thing, something that is like leading to transformation of yourself and stuff of that nature. So I imagine that is the reason you're seeing 333 so many times. I think it's very intentional. He probably shoots for 3 hours 30 minutes and like edits it to make it exactly 333. I totally get it. So I don't think that that's anything alarming or weird. I think that's just it was his intention. I would imagine.
It's probably like a divine
based on what he covers for information. Yeah.
I think, I agree with that. Okay. On April 19th, his final podcast, which we just covered, Wilcock called his life a gift and a blessing and said it was a little bit scary how many researchers are being killed or unalived. And then finally, there was a resurfaced post that people were pulling up. We didn't pull this up. From 2022 that explicitly said he was not going to unalive himself. So when people say things like that, it's because they probably have indication that they should be saying those things. They're saying something, they're bucking against the system. They've ticked someone off. They've got a tip. They've got a warning. They know people that have been taken down. So he was acutely aware of the threat on his life. And I think that is evident throughout the videos we just showed you, throughout the 2022 posts we just mentioned. Those are things that scream to me that this is either an operation or maybe he got paranoid enough that he was take himself off the board. That actually can happen. So it's not something you can rule out entirely. Like if you think you're pretty much gonna get it one way or another, that could be a motive. I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying let's be open-minded here. We know only so much.
Especially with everyone jumping on the bandwagon of the McCaslin situation and everyone connected to him. While we don't know that he had any direct connections to those individuals, the reality is his world of content and information and research is adjacent to that world. Like, there probably, like we said, is some overlap. I'm sure there are some people the same way, like if you're a content creator, right? Like it'll be like, look, do I know Jesse on Fire personally? No, but I have been in chat groups with him where we have interacted, here and there, back and forth, or I know people that I consider a friend that are friends with him, but do I know him personally? No. I feel like it's that vibe, right? Like I'm sure he follows that whole thing even closer than people who've dove into it post what's happening. He's probably that kind of person who knows someone who knew someone. And so he's getting that information, throughout the time frame of all these events happening, right? We're talking about these 11 people going missing, and we're talking about it all right now. He's probably someone who had that information via a friend of a friend
Mutual
as it's
circle.
going on. So as it's building up over this time frame, right? And it's getting more and more tension and whatnot. So imagine yourself being kind of on the inside, but also kind of on the outside. I imagine there's a lot of anxiety that can form from that, and just not knowing, like, am I going to cross a line somewhere with something I'm talking about? Because now I'm seeing these people I personally have connections to, whether directly or indirectly. This is kind of freaking me out. You know what I mean? I imagine that it's probably been a rough go of it since stuff started happening within the last year, because it's been within the last year that all this has been going on. So
Yeah, and in a little bit, we're actually going to talk about the 3 other people he actually personally knew that are taken off the chessboard in the last 100 days.
mhm.
So it's not even that far off the realm for him to be like, "Why are all my buds
Yeah.
dying?" That's
Yeah.
like that's like if a few content creators that like I talk to were just taken off the board
That's what
randomly.
I'm saying, right. Like,
Like,
if someone maybe we don't know them, like, really, really personally, but it's like, no, like, I'm in that world, and I could easily have been interacting with that person. We just hadn't so much, you know what I mean? Like, that's yeah, it's very real when you get to the point of being like, "This is someone I could easily reach out to and talk to," you know?
yeah.
Very
So
different.
apparently his co-host posted on X, "We are shocked and horrified. We will meet with the Boulder police to provide any information we can. The last time I spoke with him, he couldn't stop talking about the cyber stalkers and how they destroyed his life. I will release a video statement soon." Hours later, Good uploaded an 11-minute YouTube video claiming he met Wilcock in February and they discussed the Gaia TV lawsuit, cyberstalking, and harassment. So he was under cyberstalking pressure, harassment, a lawsuit.
I wanna know more about that lawsuit for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, there is a lot of content here to unpack. There's a lot of
Yeah.
information. This is a true investigation because it seems like there is a motive here, whether it's
Yeah.
due to the disclosure that they want with the Trump administration wants with the UFO things, or whether it has to do with the more personal relationships he's encountering, which is this lawsuit, cyber stalkers, threats on his life. I mean, when you get to having a 500,000 followers, I'm sure you also get some crazy
Yeah.
people. You
It's
can get
always
anybody under the sun.
I have no, I don't even have 600, and I still have some crazies in there sometimes.
Yes. So, yeah,
Claiming I'm farting
exactly.
on lives.
It's so true. And the cyber stalkers claim is the most important
So funny.
receipts that we have so far. If Wilcock was actively being harassed in the weeks before his death, Boulder police have his devices. So if the FBI has
Mhm.
taken the case, which we don't know if they have them. So whether that becomes public depends on what Good brings forward. So Good could be a very key witness in this active investigation,
Yeah.
and what Elizabeth Wilcock chooses to release, and whether anyone on the Boulder police feels pressure of the 500,000 YouTube subscribers asking questions, which is what I referred to earlier. When people like you and me apply pressure,
Yes.
they will release more information, whether they want to or not, because
Yeah.
the people have more power than they believe. And that's something that we always talk about in our channels, but it's something to reiterate when we're talking about these investigations. So, what did Rep Luna say? So, within 24 hours of Wilcox's death being confirmed, a sitting U.S. representative who chairs the Congressional Task Force on UAP secrecy publicly validated the broader pattern. It's the most consequential political marker in this entire story. So she said on X, "We just learned of the tragic passing of David Wilcock. We are praying for his family and loved ones and the millions of lives he impacted." And then she quoted John 8:32. And John 8:32 reads, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." So to me, that's indicating he was a truth teller and a truth seeker. And she is heading this UAP force. So that is it's very coded language, but to me,
Yeah.
it's implying that he was a truth seeker and a
Same
truth knower.
day,
I wanted to see if we don't have to watch the whole thing or anything, but when I was trying to find more information on um Winfrey, I had mentioned to you that I went to his Facebook page, and he had a very small following, and I'm not gonna play this whole thing because it's like 10 minutes long. But he had posted this twice in a row, actually. Um, he also had a huge gap in his posting. So, and of course, that's all I can
Wait,
see.
what?
Mean,
Should we back it up and let everyone know who he is? Because I have a nice thing. So I'll
sure, yeah, go right
I'll
ahead. Yeah,
quickly
yeah,
give a quick rundown.
yeah,
So Winfrey, that Danny mentioned earlier, he is a Berkeley trained physics major turned journalist. So he's big brained. He's the principal author of The Reincarnation of Edgar Casey. It's the book
yes.
he co-authored with David Wilcock that made Wilcock's career as a disclosure movement figure. So meaning he was the reason David Wilcock pretty much has a center stage right now. The scholarly backbone of the Wilcock Project. So, per the book's Amazon author bio, Free approached the project from a scholarly standpoint before being under direct observation from intelligence of the other side, so aliens. He died April 18th, 2026, publicly confirmed by Jay Widener, the X post on April 21st. And this is the post. In a weird twist of fate, David Wilcock's biographer, Winfrey, so his biographer, died on the 18th of April, 2 days before David. I knew both of them, and it was reposted by Brian Romele. So the cause of death was not publicly reported, which is what we've been talking about. That cause of death is missing for Winfrey, who is a huge figure to David Wilcock's life. So I just wanted to make sure we got the backstory on Winfrey, because I feel like it's one of those things where if you don't know who he is and the significance, we're just kind of naming people. And I
For
want you
sure.
guys
Yeah.
all to have a face. Like, this guy was a big deal to Wilcock in his professional career.
Hmm. Yeah. So the first thing I have here is just what I found when I found his Facebook. So I just wanted to pull that up just as a visual to show people, like, we're not talking about someone with a huge social media presence. Granted, I did look up his YouTube as well. He had, I don't even know if he had a YouTube. Maybe if he did, it was like, there's too many like other people who are substantial to find his specifically. There was no profile picture. Only 460 friends on here. We don't have a whole lot of people following him either. And again, this could just be like privacy settings. He could have it set where very few things are shown publicly, so it doesn't mean much. But what I wanted to reference that I found interesting was, so we have him kind of reposting a video that was about his book that we just talked about here. We've got this little post here. We're back in April of 2025, and then April 2025, and then August 25th, 2011. I don't know what that jump is, but that was it. And the video that I want to share, that again, this was one he posted back in what was that? So this would have been way back in 2011, right? As when he would have posted this. Yeah, 2011 is when he posted this video, but I found it interesting because the video itself, I'm going to just share that different screen, is this one. And we don't have to watch a lot of this at all just to understand the overall vibe of it. And I just found it very telling in regards to maybe the kind of information he's sharing with people in his inner circle or people, whatever. So I don't know if this is the same. Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, this is it.
Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't. You are hardwired to change the world. Unlike 9 out of 10 people, your mind is irrepressible, and this threatens authority. You were born to be a revolutionary. You can't stand rules because in your heart you know there's a better way.
So I'm not going to play the whole thing, obviously.
We get the vibe.
You get the vibe right off the bat. So when I saw that, and he posted it like one after the other. And so I was like, well, that's interesting. And this was obviously still a while ago, but we've had a lot of things coming to the head recently. So it makes you wonder what kind of conversations he was having at this point in time, where that was over 10 years ago. what has he been talking about recently? What maybe was going on in his life with everything that's changed over the last however many years and what that could mean. I don't know. But, I only bring it up because there are very few people willing to, especially even back in 2011, share that kind of stuff, because it feels, especially even just prior, we've talked about this before, prior to even just like this Charlie Kirk thing, there was a very, we've discussed how I had wanted to do a channel for a while, but there was anxiety around it, fear around what kind of, backlash you were going to get if you have a family or kids or whatever, what it's going to bring to the people in your life. And so if someone in 2011 has the balls enough to post stuff like that, they're probably pretty outspoken about stuff. And so I just found that interesting. Doesn't mean anything necessarily, but I thought it was intriguing and I figured I'd share because I think that's interesting as well.
I think it actually lends credence to why maybe what his thought process was, a little bit anti-establishment, a little bit free thinking. Whereas we just saw Wilcock seemed to be willing to kind of work with people.
Yeah.
Whereas, Mr. Free was kind of like, bro, if your government does this, take out the government. Like, that's what he said,
Right.
not me, in his video.
Yeah.
Also really
that
quick,
vibe of that, obviously.
Love you too. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for being here.
This was very last minute, guys, but like when we started talking about it, it was like, there's so much to this already. And, like I said, we'll end up doing some like concise videos with more information as we get it. But I like doing this too, because I feel like when we have the ability to kind of do this like live discussion, live research, live whatever, it provides another resource for me down the road when I want to follow back up on like what happened right then. So I like the fact that we decided to do this today last minute, just because so much is going to change over the immediate future in regards to what's happening with this, that I think it's good to have this moment where we can reflect back on everything that took place immediately following and what was being discussed, because I think that a lot of other stuff's going to come out that's going to make this, I don't know. It's going to turn into a rabbit hole of a bunch of stuff, and information's going to get forgotten about.
Yeah, I still got some good stuff, guys. So it sounded more like a wrap up, but I want you guys.
I'm just like touching base. That's why we're here. Don't leave. But yeah,
I saw a couple of people dipping out. I'm like, guys,
okay,
I'm going to get back into the timeline. So now we're going to go to the timeline. What does this look like? Who are these people that were in his sphere? So on January 10th, Eric von Daniken, and we're going to touch on him, dies at Interlaken Hospital in Switzerland at age 90. And that was a natural cause. So this is somebody who is in this sphere, but this was a natural cause. And then it looks like February 12th, it's all the same year, 2026, Nick Pope announces stage 4 esophageal cancer on X, and he said he can't beat it. And then on April 6th, he dies in his home at age 60. Wife Elizabeth Weiss announces. And then Winfrey, we know, dies April 18th, or some posts are saying April 14th. That's very sketchy in relation to this. And then finally, we know Wilcox's post saying on April 18th, weirdly the same day that Win is supposedly taken off the board. Always remember that the creator is within and we live in a loving universe. April 19th was Wilcox's final podcast. And then he died April 20th. He dies near Nederland, Colorado, age 53, Boulder County Sheriff, self-inflicted. And then a ton of people came out and, basically brings up this information April 21st. And then his friend, Corey Good, on April 21st says Wilcock was being cyberstalked, uploads 11-minute YouTube statement. So I think that should be a part 2 to watch his YouTube statement, analyze that. And then on April 21st, it was reported that the FBI was taking the case. That is not confirmed yet. This is a fresh case, guys. So we're going to watch out for that and see why they would want to. We just talked about why. But another thing I kind of want to hit on is some of the warnings that he had said throughout his career. So Wilcock wrote about threats and hostile forces extensively in 2018 to 2019. So it's very interesting that he's passed away now. That's almost 10 years later. We're not quite there, 8-ish. So apparently in July 2017, he wrote This included personal death threats I received in July 2017, warned that if I continued working as the host of Cosmic Disclosure, I would be killed. Cosmic Disclosure is his show on YouTube. Why? That's just a question we should keep open. And then on Emery Smith, he said, I encourage Emery Smith to come forward as a guest on Cosmic Disclosure, despite threats he had received. I believe that he would not be safe unless he did so, as publicity is protection, which is why I'm going to say, and I said before, it's important. He said all of those things in that last video saying, I want to be here. I'm glad to be alive, because he personally believed publicity is protection. So he came out here and said all those things, similar to when Candace came out and said, I have all these threats against me. He believed that personally. So I think that is interesting. And it was a series of very violent and suspicious events occurred soon after he decided to come forward on Gaia. So that's what David Wilcock had claimed. And then he stated about a coordinated attack that was happening to him. Taken together, the threats and attacks we collectively went through all appeared to be coordinated operation from a force outside of Gaia and its employee base. The force's agenda was almost certainly to divide and conquer. So they wanted to split up his mission even on his show. And, you know, when you go and watch the show, even from the small clips we've seen, it's very clear he is about love and light and trying to find a path forward for people, trying to make peace in the world. We know that the agitators of the world have always tried to divide and conquer. That is their mission, which is why the left versus right thing goes on. It's why so many other things go on. So we can see this personally and publicly happening to him. And then finally, he said, publicity is protection was Wilcox's own doctrine. He used it in 2017 to persuade Emery Smith to go public despite threats. 7 years later, Wilcock himself described himself being cyberstalked to his friend Corey Good, which we touched on, and dies in a mental health crisis alone on a mountain road in Colorado. Whether his doctrine protected him or failed him is the question that will define the rest of this story. So it's one of those things where, because he said those things and we looked back on those things, we can see where he was mentally in this time. And I think that was just really important that we all know where his headspace was at as we were going through this case. And then we can, you know, talk about the watch list, like who is still here on Earth with us and will they be impacted? Now, the other deaths sounded a little bit more natural, but that doesn't mean they always are. We've heard CIA things come forward and them saying, I was poisoned, I got cancer from
heart attacks all the time.
Yes. So just keep those in mind when I was naming the other people that were not associated with him. Especially, you know, Mr. Free is very suspicious. The other two seemed a little bit older and it could have been, you know, but you never know. You really never know.
We never know what he had for information outside of what we have, right? So like, you know, like he could have personally spoke to their wife who was like, listen, nope, you know, this isn't what happened or whatever, you know, we don't know. Or they could be like, for sure, yeah, that's what happened. We don't know.
So as we know, he was part of the Ancient Aliens cast. So we're going to name off just a few people that we want to keep in mind. So they all have a documented professional publication or institutional connection to one or more of the people in the cluster that have already died. So the 4 people now that have died. Mr. Wilcock as the main character here because he was the most widely known. So the Ancient Aliens cast, so Giorgio Tsoukalos. I'm going to butcher these names. I'm so sorry. We're doing our best. But he was the co-executive producer of Ancient Aliens. They did 285 episodes. He was also a publisher. He posted the Von Daniken's obituary. So the first guy I named that had passed on January 11th. So they knew each other. They're all in the same circle. He's currently active. There's a 2026 Ancient Aliens live tour confirmed. And he's the host and public face of the franchise. So who knows if Wilcock was supposed to go on this tour? Like, they knew each other. So just keep that guy in the back of our hair. Crazy hair guy. Okay, that's what I thought it was. Scruff. That's a good comment. Okay.
That's the guy that I said my parents have met.
Yes. Crazy. You know him. We know and love him.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Giorgio. Okay. David Childress. So he's author of
I'm not saying it's aliens, but saliens. That's that dude.
Right.
The
That
meme
guy.
that you see all the time.
That's actually would have been a really good thumbnail. Okay, anyway. David Childress. So the connection, he's the author of Technology of the Gods. And he did 281 episodes with them. He's the consulting producer of 169 episodes, and he appears in nearly every episode alongside Giorgio. So his current status is active, and he's part of the Ancient Aliens tour. So we need to keep our eyes on our Ancient Aliens tour, folks, because we want them to still be with us. And then William Henry, he was a Nashville-based author. He toured with Nick Pope in the Ancient Aliens Live. So that was one of the people who passed away. So they know each other pretty well. And then some of the people that are still direct Wilcock collaborators, I think these will be really important people because they have already been named throughout this investigation that we've been talking about. That Corey Good, so he was the guy who came out and said that they were facing cyberstalkers. So
Yeah.
he's
And
Wilcox
part of the lawsuit.
Yes, and as part of the lawsuit. So he's Wilcock's former Gaia TV co-host on Cosmic Disclosure. He claimed a secret space program whistleblower. So that's something to keep in mind. He was a whistleblower on a secret space program. He co-founded Disclosure Comics, featured alongside Wilcock in Above Majestic and the Cosmic Secret films. So he's in active litigation. And he's obviously still alive and publicly posting. He stated Wilcock told him in February about cyberstalkers who destroyed his life. He committed publicly to meeting with Boulder police. So he may be a key witness, like we talked about before. So keeping Corey Good in mind, hopefully nothing happens to him. If something does, we've clocked it here and we can go back and look on our files.
Also, just to like touch base on that, he's saying that in February he was speaking with Wilcock about like the cyber stalking and whatever. That could also touch onto the weight loss I was talking about, how he had been referencing recent weight loss. February is not that long ago. If he was really stressing about a lot of stuff going on right then, stress will do that, man. So like maybe he's lost weight just due to like managing this stress and all this stuff going on. So
yeah. 100%. And men especially, they just won't eat. Like us women are like, my hormones are killing me.
We won't eat, and they're like, you're fatter.
Yes. Yes, your hormones will do some other thing on you. And then we'll be like, I won't eat for a week, and like they have abs. And you're like, I think I could.
Side note, guys, if you are subscribed to myself and not American Discourse News, make sure you do so, and vice versa. We do a lot of this stuff together. We chat every day. So when things come up, sometimes we'll just randomly go live together. We obviously still have our own content as well, but I just want to throw it out midstream here. If you guys aren't following both of us, make sure you do. And we've also talked about how, like, especially with this particular case, we both kind of have directions we want to go in. So while we'll be covering it together sometimes, we also will both be kind of like going in slightly different directions with what we're looking into in regards to this. So it's great to be subscribed to both of us so you can get one side of it and then the other. And we'll probably reference each other's stuff too in our videos just because, you know, promotion, you know?
Of course. Yes, promo your besties. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So we please like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. It also helps us build our great community. So we have such a good community in the chat,
really
which we will pull up a little bit at the end here. But yeah, please help us grow this community. We really want to make a difference. We're not left versus right. We are just, you know, facts and you know, some opinion pieces, of course.
Critical analysis. That's what we want. We want people to
Yes.
be analyzing things
Common
critically.
sense.
Yes.
And common sense.
That's what we should all be doing.
Yes. So let's get back to, I'm just going to name a couple other names because actually there's quite a lot. So I'll keep them in the back of my head. But another person was Emery Smith. So that was that person we mentioned earlier. It was a Wilcock interviewed insider on Cosmic Disclosure, former U.S. Air Force surgical technologist who claimed to work on classified underground programs analyzing exobiological specimens. That's a hot phrase there. Wilcock personally wrote in his 2018 and 2019 Gaia apology letter that Smith received threats and experienced a series of very violent and suspicious events after coming forward, which we mentioned. Current status, they're still alive. As of November 29, 2025, that he appeared on Jeff Mara podcast, currently hosts Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia TV and on his own Cosmic Television Network website. EmerySmith.co is active. So I actually feel like that person may need to watch out, because this is a person who's literally claiming they were working on classified underground programs analyzing biological specimens. And to me, that's giving not humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely gives maybe not human.
Yeah. So Emery Smith, that's someone we want to keep probably in our prayers at this point, because that seems like a big name. And then I'm just going to go with, this is kind of what are the open questions after we've looked into this. So Winfrey's cause of death, we brought that up. It's not public or reported as of April 21st, confirmed only via Jay Widener's X post, which is very strange, like you brought up, Danny.
I just think it's weird.
Yeah. And this person did not assert unaliving or murder on air. The receipts don't support either. So we don't know how Mr. Free has been.
We don't know. We don't know if the reports are that he also unalived himself or that something else. We have no idea. It's the only thing that we heard is, oh, by the way, this guy just unalived himself. But did you know that this guy also is dead? That's it. Like, nothing else. I just find it very weird, man. So where did you get that then? That's what I want to know. Where did you get that? You threw it in the article. Where'd you get the information? Because I'm not finding anything.
Yeah,
did there's you know a couple personally. Like, what are we missing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so another question: the cyberstalker claim, per Corey Good, Wilcock was being actively cyberstalked in the weeks before his death. From who? From where? Boulder police will have his devices most likely, and FBI as well if they take over. So what services depends on who leaks and what is subpoenaed. So those are some things to watch out for, is the cyberstalker claim. See if that's the angle they're going to use.
Too, in regards to people who unalive themselves, it's really easy to just brush that under the rug and just take it at face value and be like, you never know what anybody's going through. Yes, that's true. I understand that. But this day and age, with the type of manipulation, whether we're talking about this situation or a totally different unaliving, we need to consider everything, because we've now seen multiple times things where individuals have unalived themselves due to conversations they're having with AI, right? Like, which, if you ask me, then that would mean that there's some liability on the end of AI here, right? Because that should never be convincing anybody to do anything like that. So problem with the it's malfunctioning, right? Like, that's what I would consider that, you know. So this day and age, with the amount of resources we have, with the amount of contacts and connections we have through social media and YouTube and, you know, Reddit, and there's so many avenues of which we get information and we interact with people, that to just take something and be like, well, that's what they said, even if it turned out that that is what happened, we need to understand what was going on that made him feel like that was the way to go, because clearly he's stating otherwise in everything he's said numerous times. He's stating that that's not the way out. And so if something changed and made him do that, there's something else along with that. There's something that needs to be looked into, whether it's AI, whether it's dark web stuff, whether it's whatever. There's something that happened that caused him to change that stance for whatever reason in a desperate manner. And that requires I think that it's really easy for people to be like, oh, well, it's confirmed that he did do it himself, so I guess we just don't look into it. No, there are situations we've seen. Remember the teen whose girlfriend basically convinced him to unalive himself? She's held responsible. Yes, he chose to do it, but she manipulated him and convinced him to go through with it. There are things that can contribute to someone choosing to do that, and those things need to be looked into, because they can do it to someone else. You know, like, it doesn't, just because you ultimately are the one who pulls the trigger, it does not mean that someone else shouldn't be held liable for why it ended up getting to that point. And I think that it's important, because it's easy to assume that if we get confirmation that that's what's happened, that we don't need to dig into it anymore, because he did it, right? Like, no, that we shouldn't be in that mindset. We need to be in the mindset of, so what else was going on? This should still be an open investigation. Just because we know who did it and how it happened doesn't mean we stop looking into it. And I think that that's what's gone on for a really long time now. That was always a good cop out, a good way for people to like get the things to be, no new news on that. That's it. We know what happened. It's just not how it needs to be looked at anymore. These things should still be considered cases and crimes to be investigated, whether or not they did it or not, it still needs to be looked into.
And who knows if the cyber stalkers didn't show up at their house and pretend to be somebody, and then you never know what this is.
Yeah,
This
I
could
mean,
be
there's a
total
million
cover-up.
directions you could go in for sure.
Yeah. So another thing, the Gaia lawsuit context, good is in active litigation. Wilcox 2018 resignation, 2019 apology letter cover the same ground. The lawsuit is still live. Does Wilcox's death change the filings or produce new ones? Would there be any reason for the lawsuit to
Will it change
anyone
the outcome?
implicated in that lawsuit, would they want him taken off the board? That's how I would say
Right.
that. So remember,
Right.
lawsuits, they are very complicated. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to claim to know how this is going to go down, but it's something to keep an eye out on and how the lawsuit
And
may
there's probably
change.
a lot that could be looked into the specifics around like, what was being settled upon, what, how much money are we talking about? We don't have any of that information right now. So, but I do think, I agree. Obviously, the same way we talk about the finances and what that could mean in regards to like the Charlie Kirk situation, that money, unfortunately, money and power, we all know that can alter many, many outcomes of situations. So I think the specifics around that are going to be important to look into for sure. Again, but we're not legal, specialists. We can look at what we're able to find and kind of present that. And hopefully someone who has more knowledge around that will take it up and dive into it. But I do think getting the overall general idea of what was included in it and what was supposedly being discussed in the way of like settlement and whatever is definitely going to be important to understand, and the roles of the individuals associated with the lawsuit and how much they played into whatever was being, taking place. Because I looked up the general overview of it, it's so simplified that there's no way I could ever look at it quickly and have a good opinion on it and how much impact someone might have on it. But I agree. I think what would that change in that sense? For sure. What will his death change?
The lawsuit is a big one because money is a motivator for many things. So, since his own doctrine was like publicity is protection, that's what Emery Smith said. That's what Emery Smith said that Wilcock basically told him. I think it's important that we always do the same and we name these things that are coming out and basically being like, okay, this is how we get justice for people who may looked to be unalived when there may be an operation. Like he stated previously, he thought there was an operation to divide and conquer for his company, for his show. He obviously had a huge following. So I just want to say that if we look into this a little bit more, everyone else should look into this a little bit more, help determine the motives. This is still a very fresh case. So we will keep looking into it, but also I encourage everyone to also do the same because more voices around these type of things will get more coverage on it, quite frankly.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like this is a great example. Like we've talked about numerous times with like the Charlie Kirk case, how important it is that individuals with specialized knowledge, regardless of what that is, it could be that you have paralegal and knowledge, or maybe you are an attorney, or maybe you even went to law school for a period of time but didn't ever pass the bar. Whatever, who cares? You have more knowledge than I do. When we talk about stuff like this, the reason why I think it's so important that we make content like this, and that this is why I want to do these things, is because spreading the information allows other people who have more knowledge around topics that every situation is complicated. Everything's going to have lots of layers to it, and not any one person is going to have all of the information or all of the knowledge to be able to break down all of it. We need everyone to help. So yeah, if you're someone who's watched this, and even if you're not someone who wants to create content, but you are someone who has knowledge around stuff that you want to, help clarify some information or dig into something like that, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We have our emails linked in
Our description.
in our channel description. So look for those if you have information you want to share. And don't think that it has to be, some crazy, breakthrough information that no one else, it doesn't matter. Like we can, stuff is repeated so much online because only some people watch some people and some people watch other people, and not everyone, covers the same information. So yeah, if you have information that you think maybe it's nothing, whatever, it doesn't matter, share it. Anytime you can share information and spread the word is great. We're not, I think it's really important that I think we gaslight ourselves. I do it to myself all the time, where I think, oh, I just was saying this to you earlier, where I'll see a news article like from today and I'm sitting there going, I swear to God, I was reading about that like 3 weeks ago. Am I missing something? Did I make that up in my head? I swear that's something. And I chose not to talk about it, thinking like, whatever, people are already talking about it, or it's old news or whatever. And now 3 weeks later, people are like, did everybody hear about this? And I'm like, what?
Not
So like,
everyone
we
knew.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, just don't gaslight yourself into thinking that what you're sharing or the information you have means nothing. It doesn't, it can be this most simplified information, but it doesn't mean that my brain went there. So share it. If you're not wanting to make content yourself, share it with someone who is, someone you trust. Even if that's not us, the point is we want people to be coming together as a community and sharing our knowledge and getting this out there so that we have more people paying attention to what's going on, because there's a lot going on, it seems like, every day. So
yeah, it's true. I like this. I'm going back through the comments now, guys. Maybe they're getting rid of all the people who know so they can fake an alien invasion. It's not that far off the table. Project Bluebeam. We know about these type of things where there's obviously nefarious people in the government who want people to get under control, under some type of one world government, whether that's using digital currency, faking an alien invasion. So we think the coming of Christ is back, things like that. I mean, it's wild theories you think of in the moment, but when you see how the world has played out, like they tried to blame the Iran war on like bringing back Jesus, then you're like, all right, these people are the nuts ones. And maybe their weird nuts plans is like exactly what they're trying to do. They're telling us exactly what they're trying to do. So this was not I don't think that's actually a bad thought at all. So yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's not that bad. Okay. I'm trying to see if there's any that we want to talk about. This is actually good points, Chris. The more days that go by, the harder it is to keep track of swiftly moving news. Exactly. Yes, it is. And there's so much coming out. They say that that's what they do that on purpose. So then people
That's a great point. Actually, I think what would be good then, and maybe we can make like at least between the two of us, but like a timetable that we can just continuously add to, starting right from now, like right from the get-go, start a timetable, like a timeline, so that we can, keep track of the information coming out. Because to me, timelines are like the most important. When we talk about the Tyler Robinson situation and they're talking about texts that are coming out now that weren't shown before, if you pop those in your timeline, you're like, oh shit, that doesn't line up right. Something's wrong there. So when you have a timeline and you can go, these were coming out here, but supposedly he was in custody here, what's going on there? It's the visual of a timeline, I think, is super important. So I think if we were to start one that we can each toss information into as we continuously get it at this point, I think it would be good, because we're at this very beginning point of this story in particular, that I think that could be really beneficial. So I think we should look into trying to figure that out.
My notes already have a timeline, so if you want to add anything, feel free to send it to me. We can keep going on, because this show notes actually has that, so we should be good on that. And I think we definitely should do that. Hello,
like a chart, like a visual line.
Yeah, I have
that's how I like to do.
Thank you, Scruff. I appreciate this. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, I'm just putting up here. Her channel's Rogue Dissident. And you can see it right here. All righty. What else do we have?
I know mine says Danny right now. I think I put that in there wrong. I don't know. Or maybe it was in there from something else. Usually I have
What's
my channel
up,
name there.
DQ69?
DQ.
It's okay. You can be late. You can always rewatch it, my friend.
Something and you're preferring to comment on, for us to have the knowledge, wait till after the video uploads as a video and not the live stream, because this live stream feed, it's only there for a period of time. It's not going to be there. We're not going to see it as easily. We could probably find it if we really tried, but it's just not as easy. So leaving comments after it's done uploading as like a regular video is the better way to go, or emailing directly or in Discord. Those are going to be your best ways to reach out.
Yes, agreed. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for today, guys. So glad you guys came. We know it was a pop-up.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Yeah.
We appreciate you being
Yeah,
here. Obviously,
I think we had
join the
more in here
Discord
than
if
I
you want.
anticipated for random midday, but
Yeah, we got a lot. So
Yeah,
thank
it
you
was
for being
great.
here.
Appreciate
Let
it,
us
you
know
guys.
in the comments later on any tips you have, or you can join my Discord and
sure.
tell me there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love you guys. Thanks so
Yeah.
much. Appreciate it. And definitely keep an eye out for more content about this. And if you couldn't stick around for the whole thing, keep an eye out for some upcoming videos where we're going to do actual regular video format on this too, because I think there's going to be plenty for us to have for content, because it's already
we didn't
kind
even
of
get into
crazy.
all of the notes I had. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a lot. Bye, y'all. Thanks for coming.
Bye.